Arthur Conan Doyle, The Return of Sherlock Holmes. The Adventure of the Dancing Men. Part 1. Holmes had been sitting for several hours in silence. His long, thin back was bent over a glass container. He was making a very bad-smelling chemical. His head was down on his chest. From where I sat, he looked like a strange, thin bird. It had dull gray feathers and a black top on its head. "So, Watson," he said suddenly, "you're not planning to invest in South African securities?" I jumped in surprise. I was used to Holmes's strange abilities, but this sudden entry into my private thoughts was impossible to understand. "How on earth do you know that?" I asked. He turned quickly on his chair. He held a hot test tube in his hand. There was a spark of amusement in his deep eyes. "Now, Watson, admit that you are completely surprised," he said. "I am. I should make you sign a paper to confirm that." "Why?" "Because in 5 minutes you will say that it is all very simple." "I am sure I will not say that." "You see, my dear Watson," he put the test tube into a holder and began to speak like a teacher to his class. "It is not really hard to build a chain of ideas. Each idea follows the one before it, and each one is simple. If you then remove the middle steps and show only the beginning and the end, it looks surprising. But maybe it is not so impressive. Now, it was not difficult to look at the mark between your left finger and thumb and know that you do not plan to invest your small money in gold mines. I do not see any connection." "Probably not, but I can quickly show you the connection. Here are the missing steps of this simple chain. 1. You had chalk between your left finger and thumb when you came back from the club last night. 2. You put chalk there when you play billiards to control the cue. 3. You only play billiards with Thurston. 4. You told me 4 weeks ago that Thurston had a chance to buy some property in South Africa. This chance would end in a month, and he wanted you to join him. 5. Your checkbook is locked in my drawer, and you have not asked me for the key. 6. You do not plan to invest your money in this way." "How very simple," I cried. "Exactly," he said, a little annoyed. "Every problem seems very easy after someone explains it. Here is one that is not explained. See what you can understand from it, my friend Watson." He threw a piece of paper onto the table and turned back to his chemical work. I looked with surprise at the strange drawings on the paper. "Why, Holmes, this is a child's drawing," I said. "Oh, that is your idea. What else could it be?" "That is what Mr. Hilton Cubitt from Ridlingthorpe Manor, Norfolk, really wants to know. This small puzzle came in the first post, and he will arrive on the next train. There is a bell ringing, Watson. I would not be surprised if it is him." A heavy step was heard on the stairs. A moment later, a tall, red-faced man came in. He had no beard. His clear eyes and red cheeks showed that he lived far from the fog of Baker Street. He seemed to bring fresh, strong sea air with him when he entered. He shook hands with both of us. He was about to sit down, but then he saw the paper with the strange drawings. I had just looked at it and left it on the table. "Well, Mr. Holmes, what do you think about these?" he said. "They told me you like strange mysteries, and I don't think you can find a stranger one than this. I sent the paper before I came, so you could study it." "It is certainly very strange," said Holmes. "At first, it looks like a child's joke. It has many small, funny figures dancing across the paper. Why do you think this strange thing is important?" "I would not think so, Mr. Holmes, but my wife does. It is scaring her very much. She says nothing, but I can see fear in her eyes. That is why I want to understand it completely." Holmes held the paper up to the sunlight. It was a page from a notebook. The drawings were made with a pencil. Holmes looked at it for some time. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. "This looks like a very interesting and unusual case," he said. "You told me some details in your letter, Mr. Hilton Cubitt, but I would be very thankful if you could tell the whole story again for my friend, Dr. Watson." "I am not very good at telling stories," said our visitor. He moved his big, strong hands nervously. "Please ask me if something is not clear. I will start from the time of my marriage last year. But first, I want to say that I am not a rich man, but my family has lived at Ridlingthorpe for 500 years. There is no better-known family in Norfolk. Last year I came to London for the Jubilee. I stayed in a boarding house in Russell Square because Parker, the priest from our parish, was staying there. There was a young American lady there. Her name was Patrick. Elsie Patrick. Somehow we became friends. Before my month there ended, I was deeply in love with her. We married quietly at an office, and then we returned to Norfolk as husband and wife. You may think it is very foolish, Mr. Holmes, that a man from an old family would marry like this, without knowing anything about her past or her family. But if you saw her and knew her, you would understand. She was very honest about it, was Elsie. I cannot say that she did not give me a chance to leave if I wanted. I have had some very unpleasant connections in my life, she said. I want to forget them all. I would rather never speak about the past, because it is very painful for me. If you marry me, Hilton, you will marry a woman who has nothing to be personally ashamed of. But you must accept my word and allow me to stay silent about everything before I became yours. If these conditions are too hard, then go back to Norfolk and leave me to the lonely life where you found me." She said these words to me the day before our wedding. I told her I accepted her terms, and I have kept my word. Well, we have been married for a year now, and we have been very happy. But about a month ago, at the end of June, I saw the first signs of trouble. One day my wife received a letter from America. I saw the American stamp. She became very pale, read the letter, and threw it into the fire. She did not speak about it later, and I did not ask, because a promise is a promise. But from that moment, she has not had a single calm hour. There is always fear on her face. She looks like she is waiting for something. She would do better to trust me. She would see that I am her best friend. But until she speaks, I cannot say anything. Remember, she is an honest woman, Mr. Holmes, and whatever trouble she had in the past was not her fault. I am only a simple landowner from Norfolk, but there is no man in England who values his family honor more than I do. She knows this well, and she knew it before she married me. She would never bring shame to it, that I am sure. Well, now I come to the strange part of my story. About a week ago, it was Tuesday last week, I found some strange little dancing figures on one of the windowsills, like the ones on this paper. They were drawn with chalk. I thought the stable boy had drawn them, but he said he knew nothing about it. Anyway, they appeared during the night. I had them washed away, and I told my wife about it later. To my surprise, she took it very seriously. She asked me to show her if any more appeared. None came for a week. Then yesterday morning, I found this paper on the sundial in the garden. I showed it to Elsie, and she fell down in a faint. Since then, she has looked like a woman in a dream. She is confused, and there is always fear in her eyes. That was when I wrote to you and sent the paper, Mr. Holmes. I could not go to the police because they would laugh at me. But you will tell me what to do. I am not a rich man, but if there is any danger for my wife, I would spend all my money to protect her. He was a fine man, this man from the old English countryside. He was simple, honest, and kind. He had big, serious blue eyes and a wide, pleasant face. His love for his wife and his trust in her could be clearly seen on his face. Holmes had listened very carefully to his story. Now he sat for some time in silence, thinking. "Do you not think, Mr. Cubitt," he said at last, "that your best plan would be to speak directly to your wife and ask her to share her secret with you?" Hilton Cubitt shook his large head. "A promise is a promise, Mr. Holmes. If Elsie wanted to tell me, she would. If not, it is not right for me to force her to speak. But I am right to act in my own way, and I will. Then I will help you with all my heart. First, have you heard about any strangers in your area?" "No." "I suppose it is a very quiet place. Any new face would be noticed?" "Yes, in the nearby area. But there are some small seaside towns not far away, and farmers sometimes take people to stay with them. These strange drawings clearly have a meaning. If the meaning is random, it may be impossible for us to solve it. But if there is a system, I am sure we can understand it. However, this example is too short, so I can do nothing. Also, the facts you gave me are not clear enough, so we have no real starting point. I suggest that you go back to Norfolk, watch carefully, and make an exact copy of any new dancing figures that appear. It is a great pity that we do not have a copy of those drawn on the windowsill. Also, quietly ask about any strangers in the area. When you have more information, come back to me. That is the best advice I can give you, Mr. Hilton Cubitt. If anything urgent happens, I will be ready to come to your home in Norfolk." This meeting made Sherlock Holmes very thoughtful. In the next few days, I saw him several times take the paper from his notebook and look carefully at the strange figures on it. However, he did not speak about the case until one afternoon about 2 weeks later. I was about to leave when he called me back. "You should stay here, Watson." "Why?" "Because I received a telegram from Hilton Cubitt this morning. You remember him, from the Dancing Men? He was to arrive at Liverpool Street at 1:20. He may be here any moment. From his message, I understand that there have been some new important events." We did not have to wait long. Our Norfolk landowner came straight from the station as fast as a horse carriage could bring him. He looked worried and sad. His eyes were tired, and there were lines on his forehead. "It's getting on my nerves, this situation, Mr. Holmes," he said, as he sat down in a chair like a tired man. "It is bad enough to feel that you are surrounded by unknown people who have some plan against you. But when you also know that it is slowly destroying your wife, then it becomes more than a man can bear. She is getting weaker because of it, slowly getting weaker before my eyes." "Has she said anything yet?" "No, Mr. Holmes, she has not. And yet there have been times when the poor girl wanted to speak, but she could not make herself do it. I have tried to help her, but maybe I did it badly and made her afraid. She has spoken about my old family, our name in the county, and our pride in our clean honor. I always felt she was going to tell me everything, but somehow she stopped before she did." "But you have discovered something yourself?" "Yes, quite a lot, Mr. Holmes. I have several new drawings of the dancing men for you to look at. And more importantly, I have seen the man." "What, the man who draws them?" "Yes, I saw him while he was doing it. But I will tell you everything in order. When I returned home after visiting you, the very next morning I saw new dancing men. They were drawn in chalk on the black wooden door of the tool house, which stands next to the lawn and can be clearly seen from the front windows. I made an exact copy, and here it is." He opened a paper and put it on the table. "Here is a copy of the drawings." "Excellent," said Holmes. "Excellent. Please continue." "After I copied them, I cleaned the marks away. But 2 mornings later, another message appeared. I have a copy of it here." Holmes rubbed his hands and laughed quietly with pleasure. "Our information is growing quickly," he said. 3 days later, a message was written on paper and placed under a small stone on the sundial. Here it is. The figures are exactly the same as before. After that, I decided to wait and watch. So I took my gun and stayed awake in my study, which looks over the lawn and garden. At about 2 a.m, I was sitting by the window. Everything was dark except for the moonlight outside. Then I heard steps behind me, and my wife was there in her nightclothes. She asked me to come to bed. I told her honestly that I wanted to see who was making these strange drawings. She said it was just a foolish joke and that I should ignore it. If it really troubles you, Hilton, we could travel somewhere, just the two of us, and avoid this problem. What, leave our own house because of a joke? I said. Everyone in the county would laugh at us. Well, come to bed, she said, and we can talk about it in the morning. Suddenly, as she spoke, I saw her white face become even whiter in the moonlight, and her hand held my shoulder tightly. Something was moving in the shadow of the tool house. I saw a dark figure that moved slowly around the corner and sat down in front of the door. I grabbed my pistol and ran out, but my wife put her arms around me and held me very strongly. I tried to push her away, but she held on with great strength. At last I got free, but when I opened the door and reached the place, the man was gone. But he left a sign behind him. On the door there was the same pattern of dancing men which had already appeared twice, and which I copied on that paper. There was no other sign of him anywhere, although I searched all over the grounds. And the strange thing is that he must have stayed there the whole time, because when I looked at the door again in the morning, he had drawn more figures under the line that I had already seen. Do you have that new drawing? Yes. It is very short, but I copied it. Here it is. Again he took out a paper. The new drawing looked like this. Tell me, said Holmes, and I could see from his eyes that he was very excited. Was this just an addition to the first drawing, or was it completely separate? It was on a different part of the door. Excellent. This is the most important one for us. It gives me hope. Now, Mr. Hilton Cubitt, please continue your very interesting story. I have nothing more to say, Mr. Holmes, except that I was angry with my wife that night because she stopped me when I could have caught that sneaky man. She said she was afraid I might be hurt. For a moment, I thought that maybe she was really afraid that he might be hurt, because I was sure she knew who he was and what these strange signs meant. But there is something in my wife's voice and in her eyes that makes doubt impossible. I am sure that she was really thinking about my safety. That is the whole story, and now I want your advice about what I should do. My own idea is to hide some of my farm workers in the bushes, and when this man comes again, to beat him so badly that he will leave us alone in the future. I am afraid this case is too serious for such simple solutions, said Holmes. How long can you stay in London? I must go back today. I would not leave my wife alone all night for anything. She is very nervous and asked me to return. I think you are right. But if you could stay, I might be able to return with you in a day or two. For now, you will leave these papers with me. I think it is very likely that I will visit you soon and help explain your case. Sherlock Holmes kept his calm, professional manner until our visitor left. But I knew him well, and I could see that he was very excited. The moment Hilton Cubitt's broad back disappeared through the door, my friend rushed to the table. He put all the papers with the dancing men in front of him and began a long and complex calculation.